they need to press to make money on it. I kind of always thought it was more a labour of love than anything else.
Well, I mean, not to get into specific titles because some of that stuff is proprietary information. On a standard release that we're doing for, we work with a couple pretty big labels, and they're looking at trying to increase a first pressing of a record from 7,500 units, 5,000 to 7,500 units. So I'd say that if they can do that, with their entire schedule, I think that they would be pretty happy. I think that the ultimate goal is to try to sell 10,000 of most new records that are a good fit on vinyl. I mean, I think that they would be elated if they could get up to those kind of quantities. But then you have certain releases like the Wilco release that we just worked on, and that's completely different. Those are completely different numbers because they've always been a vinyl-centric band. So if they sell 25,000 records right out of the gate, it's not surprising. So I think that we're seeing a shift from records that used to start out at 3,000 pieces are now starting out at 5, and those that are starting out at 5, they're moving up to maybe 7,000-8,000 units. So
that's interesting.
If that trend continues, I think that labels will keep supporting the format because for like you said, for Warner, where it's a labor of love, it just so happens that they can make some money on it, and I think that other major labels will see that as well, and I think that it's good for vinyl buyers too because I think that a lot of people that I'm late 30s, and I know that I stopped buying vinyl in the mid 90s, early 90s when it started to it was hard to find it, and the quality actually was pretty bad. But before that, I bought a lot of records that, going back to, listening to them, they didn't sound that good. And now I'm buying the same records that are being reissued by, some of the audiophile labels that we work with, as well as, other labels around the world that actually sound better than the pressings that I have or that I heard, as well as some of the original pressings. I mean, the quality of going back to a master, cutting it and pressing it with someone like Furnace or RTI. I mean, you can get a record that sounds better than when it came out in the 50s or the 60s, and that's exciting to me because some of that stuff we're hearing just for the first time because of technology is better. I mean, you can cut a better lacquer now. And if the tape is in good shape, I mean, you're hearing what they heard in the studio on vinyl now, which is fantastic.
Which brings us to another point. How do you feel in the whole current recording and mastering process, where everything is kind of compressed to make it as loud as possible?
Well, I think that it depends on what it is. I think that there's a lot of rock that punk rock and rock and roll and stuff that I think you're not going to be able to tell the difference. I wouldn't claim to have a golden ear, but I think where it suffers is when you have dynamic music. When you listen to anything jazz or even like adult contemporary type stuff like Sting record or something like that. Yeah. I mean, you can I can hear like the digital compression and some of that stuff because it just all kind of falls flat. But there's other stuff that we're doing, that kind of is kind of new stuff that's been recorded digitally that sounds actually pretty good. So I'm not a analog fascist. I think that I think both suit well. I mean, if you're an indie band and you want to record in your own studio on a laptop and it sounds pretty good, it probably sounds better than the band I was in when I was 16 and we recorded a 2-inch tape, just because the equipment's so much better. So I think I think it's great. It's a democratic thing. Like digital recording is a democratic thing that allows everyone to be able to record their music and make it sound better than the old days when you put a boombox with a cassette in there and you just recorded it and it sounded like crap. I think it's great that people can record their stuff and get it out there. But I think that I think it's great when you have bands that are now recorded digitally and now they're going back to analog because they see the benefits of it. It's a more expensive process, but I think it's if people can afford it and they can and if they desire it, then it'll become more popular. So I think it's always better to go analog if you can, and when you hear it, and it's but I can totally understand why people are recording digitally, and if it's done well, I think it's fine.
And brings like you obviously on your website you kind of talk about what formats you accept, and particularly to the fore kind of CDs or digital files, although you also accept lacquers and copper plates. So what effectively are you getting in? Like for Warner, you probably get lacquers in, do you, or what do they give you, or what do you cut from in the main?
Well, the more established clients that we work with almost always are working with a cutting studio. One of the cutting studios we work with a lot is Bernie Grundman in Hollywood. They also have an office in Japan. He has a great reputation, and we have really great luck with all the lacquers that they supply us. So they've been great to work with. We have a few other clients that we'll either cut somewhere, and even sometimes we'll get plating done in the States and then send it over, and we'll press from that. But a lot of what we're finding is there's a lot of our independent labels and even bands. What they'll do is they'll provide us with uncompressed digital files.
What kind of resolution are they using?
It depends on what their mastering studio, their pre-mastering studio is working with. I mean, sometimes we're taking CDs. So more of the low budget stuff, they might give us a CD and give us WAV files. Other times, they'll do completely uncompressed. And I'd be lying to you if if there's tell you that there's a standard as far as the bit rates and whatnot that people are sending in. But if they have it, and if they're recording in a place that can supply them, I always recommend it. And we use one of the exclusive relationships that we have, pressing relationships, is with Record Industry in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And they used to be the old Sony plant in Europe. And there's a gentleman over there named Renus, and he's been cutting for over 30 years. He's worked with CBS and Sony, and he's worked at a lot of different plants, and he's cut some of the he cut Thriller on vinyl. He cut Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, he's cut some of the biggest records of all time. And he's actually the in-house cutting guy over at Record Industry. So, when labels are in a hurry or they have a digital recorded record, I have a lot of confidence in him being able to cut something either to lacquer or even directly to copper plates, and it sounds better than a lot of the lacquers that we get. So.
Right, yeah.
He's great because he's also able to take a lot of the indie music that we get that may not even be pre-mastered, that might be coming right out of a studio, and he's able to take it, open it up. I don't like to say clean it up, but he's able to kind of open it up, make it sound better. So when he does cut it, it's going to sound like it's even better than what they heard when they came out of the studio. And we've done that with several records, including this. We cut a Pearl Jam 7-inch recently. We've done some work for a label called Southern Lord, where we've taken their digital files and EQ'd them, especially for the cutting process for vinyl. And the final product is just amazing.
What label was
that? Southern Lord. They're kind of like a dark metal label out of California.
Is that it? Do you find a lot of